Nature has never stopped challenging the human imagination. Across our planet, it has created landscapes so strange, they look completely unreal. A gigantic ring of color spreads across the ground as steam rises endlessly from the surface of a lake. Brilliant white terraces cradle pools of vivid turquoise water. A stream of deep red liquid pours through a vast expanse of white ice. Your eyes will keep questioning what they're seeing, and your mind will keep searching for an explanation of how places like these can even exist. Behind every natural wonder is a story shaped by millions of years of geological change. The more you explore, the more you'll begin to see Earth in a completely different way. A river of vivid red cuts through the Andes Mountains. This is the Palccoyo Red River in Cusco, Peru. From above, it looks like a ribbon of fresh paint poured between green and brown mountain slopes. Striking color does not come from chemicals. During the rainy season, water washes iron oxide-rich soil and rocks from the surrounding hillsides into the river. As the sediment mixes with the current, the water turns from a muddy pink to a deep brick red. The phenomenon does not last all year. As the rains ease, less mineral-rich sediment is carried downstream. The color gradually fades until the river returns to its normal appearance. The valley never changes. The river follows the same course. Yet a simple shift in the weather can transform the entire landscape into something that looks like CGI. In reality, every shade of red comes from the rocks and soil of the mountains themselves. "40,000 basalt columns crowd the coastline. Thousands of hexagonal rock faces fit tightly together. Each column locks perfectly against the next, straight, uniform, almost impossible to believe. Together, they stretch from the cliffs all the way to the sea. This remarkable landscape has existed for nearly 60 million years. Giant's Causeway is located in Northern Ireland, United Kingdom. It is the remains of enormous lava flows that once spread across this region. As the lava cooled, the rock contracted. Cracks gradually formed according to the laws of physics. Over time, they created tens of thousands of basalt columns with remarkably consistent geometric shapes. For millions of years afterward, waves and wind continued eroding the surrounding softer rock. Only the harder basalt remained standing. That is why today's coastline looks like a giant staircase descending into the sea. Volcanoes laid the foundation. The ocean carved every detail. Time completed the masterpiece, leaving behind one of the most extraordinary geological wonders on Earth. A deep sinkhole lies completely isolated from the surrounding landscape. Limestone cliffs encircle its rim. Below is a pool of dark blue water, shimmering beneath the sunlight. Kilsby Sinkhole is located in South Australia. The water here is so clear that underwater visibility often exceeds 40 meters. The sinkhole began as a limestone cave hidden beneath the ground. Over millions of years, groundwater dissolved the surrounding rock, creating an ever-expanding underground chamber. When the cave ceiling finally collapsed, the lake was revealed. The consistently stable water conditions have made it one of Australia's best-known freshwater diving sites. New divers come here to experience exceptionally clear water for the first time. Cave divers also use the site for training and exploration. From the rim of the sinkhole, you can still watch their every movement through the deep blue water below. Bands of blue, yellow, and orange spread outward around a massive pool. Steam rises continuously from the surface, making the entire area look like a giant palette painted into the earth. Grand Prismatic Spring is the largest hot spring in the United States, located in Yellowstone National Park. The pool measures nearly 110 meters across, and the water at its center can exceed 70 degrees Celsius. The gradual change in temperature from the center of the pool to its edges creates completely different environments. Billions of heat-loving microorganisms live around the spring. Each species thrives within a specific temperature range. That is why the hottest water remains its signature deep blue, while the cooler outer bands gradually shift to yellow and orange. Every day, thousands of liters of mineral-rich hot water continue rising from deep beneath the Earth's surface. Even the slightest change in temperature can shift the boundaries between the colored bands, so the spring never looks exactly the same twice. In the middle of a vast lake rises an island. On that island stands an active volcano. That setting alone makes Taal unlike almost any other volcano on Earth. Taal Volcano is located in the Philippines, in the middle of Taal Lake. Although it rises just over 300 meters above sea level, it remains one of the country's most active volcanoes. Its eruptions have repeatedly reshaped the landscape throughout history and forced lakeside communities to evacuate. The area was once a much larger volcano. A massive eruption caused its summit to collapse, forming a giant caldera. Over time, water filled the basin, creating Taal Lake. Later eruptions built Volcano Island, where Taal Volcano stands today. From the viewpoints around Taal Lake, this extraordinary geological structure can be seen in a single panoramic view. Twice each day, the tides transform part of this river into a maze of swirling currents. At Dent Rapids in British Columbia, this phenomenon repeats with the steady rhythm of the ocean's rising and falling tides. As tidal water from the Pacific Ocean surges through a narrow channel, it collides with water flowing in the opposite direction. The surface instantly turns turbulent. Whirlpools begin forming one after another. White water twists and churns across the entire channel. Each period of intense turbulence lasts only a short time. Boats must wait for the right tidal window before they can pass through safely. Just a few minutes later, everything gradually settles. The river returns to an almost perfectly calm state. Bands of red, orange, yellow, and white blanket the mountain sides. They flow along the rock layers, stretching across the entire valley. This is the Zhangye Danxia landform in China. Each color represents a different layer of sedimentary rock. Over millions of years, tectonic uplift and erosion gradually expose these layers, stacking them into vivid natural stripes rarely seen anywhere else on Earth. As the light changes throughout the day, the colors of the mountains shift as well. Sunrise and sunset are often when the reds and oranges become most intense, covering the slopes in brilliant color. Despite enduring millions of years of sun, wind, and rain, these remarkable bands of color have survived to this day. The ground and the sky almost become one. The horizon disappears. Every step feels as though you're walking through the clouds. This surreal landscape can be found at Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia. The white salt crust stretches across more than 10,000 square kilometers. Its surface is almost perfectly flat, with an elevation difference of only a few dozen centimeters across the entire salt flat. It is one of the flattest natural surfaces ever recorded on Earth. Whenever the rainy season leaves behind a thin layer of water, the entire salt flat instantly transforms into a gigantic mirror. Clouds, mountains, and the sky are reflected with astonishing clarity. Beneath the thick salt crust lies one of the world's largest lithium reserves. That makes this extraordinary landscape important, not only for its breathtaking appearance, but also for the modern battery and electric vehicle industries. Thousands of tiny blue lights cover the ceiling of a deep underground cave. They stretch above an underground river, turning the darkness into a glittering natural canopy. Waitomo Cave in New Zealand is one of the few places on Earth where this extraordinary sight can be seen. These glowing lights are not fireflies. They are the larvae of a fungus gnat species found only in New Zealand. Each larva produces its own bioluminescent glow to attract flying insects in the darkness. Hanging beneath every glowing point are dozens of fine silk threads coated with sticky mucus. When an insect becomes trapped, the larva reels it in and begins to feed. Together, thousands of these tiny creatures create a vast hunting network across the cave ceiling. The larvae can even adjust the brightness of their glow. When they are hungry, they shine more intensely to attract more insects. If disturbed by loud noise or bright light, they dim their glow or switch it off completely. Turquoise pools cascade down brilliant white terraces. They cover the entire hillside. Each level is edged by naturally curved stone rims, as though they had been carefully carved by hand. In Türkiye, Pamukkale was created by nothing more than water and minerals. Hot spring water rich in calcium continuously rises from underground. As it reaches the surface and comes into contact with the air, calcium carbonate begins to precipitate, leaving behind thin, white mineral deposits. Over thousands of years, these deposits gradually built the terraces. They also formed a series of interconnected pools flowing down the hillside. The process is still happening today. Every new stream of water leaves behind another delicate layer of mineral. Visitors can walk directly across the white terraces and soak in the naturally warm mineral pools. The formation is extremely fragile. Everyone must walk barefoot to avoid damaging the young mineral surface. The flow of water is also carefully managed. If it stops flowing or is diverted for too long, the white terraces can lose their color and stop growing. In the middle of a brilliant blue lake, a massive white rock rises beside the shore. From a distance, it appears almost completely solid. Hidden inside marble caves on Chile's General Carrera Lake is an intricate maze of domes and tunnels. No machinery created these extraordinary shapes. For more than 6,000 years, waves have continuously struck the marble. Each wave eroded only a paper-thin layer, but millions of repetitions gradually carved deep into the rock. The water itself also transforms the scenery. When sunlight reaches the lake, it reflects onto the marble walls, making the blue, white, and gray veins appear even more vivid. There are no walkways through the caves. To explore them, you have to travel by boat or kayak, weaving beneath the marble arches. Only from that close can you fully appreciate every curve and every layer of marble, sculpted by water over thousands of years. Every rock has a different shape. No two are exactly alike. Some stand alone in the middle of the desert. Others are connected in long chains of white stone. Egypt's white desert is covered with extraordinary formations like these. They were not sculpted all at once. Each rock changes at its own pace. Softer layers are worn away more quickly by wind and sand, while harder sections survive much longer. That slight difference alone has created hundreds of unique shapes. Few people realize these white rock formations once lay beneath an ancient sea. When the water eventually disappeared, layers of chalk were left exposed in the desert. Since then, wind carrying countless grains of sand has continued to carve their surfaces. The process has never stopped. That is why the White Desert remains a landscape that nature is still sculpting one day at a time. A brilliant pink lake stretches across the middle of the island. It is not just a patch of color, not a small corner. Nearly the entire surface of the water shares the same vivid shade. This rare natural phenomenon has made Australia's Lake Hillier famous around the world. Scientists believe the color is produced by a combination of factors. The lake's extremely high salt concentration creates ideal conditions for salt-loving algae and bacteria to thrive. Their natural pigments work together to produce the lake's distinctive pink appearance. Right beside Lake Hillier lies the deep blue of the Southern Ocean. Separated by only a narrow strip of sand, the two bodies of water maintain their strikingly different colors. Lake Hillier is only about 600 meters long. For decades, its pink color has remained remarkably stable. Even today, it is still one of the very few places on Earth where two neighboring bodies of water display such dramatically contrasting colors. About 1,000 years ago, a massive volcanic eruption blasted away the summit of this mountain. The lava eventually cooled, leaving behind an enormous volcanic crater. Over the centuries, rain and melting snow gradually filled the basin. Today, Changbai Tianchi sits atop Changbai Mountain, on the border between China and North Korea. The lake lies more than 2,100 meters above sea level. Steep mountain slopes almost completely surround the water. The lake covers nearly 10 square kilometers and reaches a depth of about 373 meters, making it one of the deepest volcanic crater lakes in the world. Every winter, its entire surface freezes over for several months before thawing again in the summer. A massive glacier still stretches through the snow-covered mountains of Alaska. Portage Glacier ends at a lake bearing the same name. During winter, the lake can freeze over. By summer, it fills with floating icebergs of many different sizes. Although it appears almost motionless, the entire mass of ice is slowly moving under its own weight. Pressure constantly builds within the glacier, creating new cracks along its front edge. At an unpredictable moment, part of the ice face can suddenly break away and crash into the lake. This process is known as calving. For that reason, visitors are always instructed to observe the glacier from a safe distance. No one can accurately predict when the next block of ice will separate from the glacier's face. At Brazil's Lençóis Maranhenses National Park, thousands of crystal blue lagoons appear between endless white sand dunes stretching to the horizon. This extraordinary landscape exists for only a few months each year, when seasonal rains fill the low-lying areas between the dunes. The national park covers more than 1,500 square kilometers. Its sweeping dunes extend for over 150 kilometers along the Atlantic coast. Constant winds reshape the sand, causing the dunes to shift and change their form from year to year. Although it looks like a desert, the region receives between about 1,200 and 1,600 millimeters of rainfall annually. Beneath the sand lies a nearly impermeable layer of rock. Rainwater becomes trapped in the depressions, creating countless natural lagoons, many of them hundreds of meters long. The arrival of the water transforms the entire landscape. During the rainy season, a temporary ecosystem emerges across the sea of sand, supporting a wide variety of plants and animals. It is a remarkable phenomenon found in almost no other dune system on Earth. Giant umbrella-shaped tree canopies spread across an island in the middle of the Indian Ocean. This is the Socotra archipelago of Yemen. Around 20 to 30 million years ago, the island separated from the mainland. From that point on, life evolved in near isolation. About 37% of the island's plant species are found nowhere else on Earth. Among its reptiles, that figure rises to roughly 90%. The climate is extremely dry. Rainfall is scarce. Powerful monsoon winds sweep across the island for months each year. Limestone and rocky terrain cover much of the landscape. To survive these harsh conditions, many plants have evolved into extraordinary shapes, covering only about 3,600 square kilometers. Socotra preserves an ecosystem that has remained almost completely isolated from the rest of the world. Millions of years of evolution are still visible in nearly every species that lives there. Every summer, Kłlil'xᵂ in Canada begins breaking apart into hundreds of separate pools. Some are blue, others appear yellow or brown. Their sizes vary across the lake. The water contains exceptionally high concentrations of minerals, including magnesium sulfate, calcium, and sodium sulfate. As temperatures rise, evaporation intensifies. The remaining minerals become more concentrated, allowing different areas of the lake to develop different colors. Solid mineral ridges also begin forming between the pools. They develop as dissolved minerals crystallize and accumulate. As the dry season progresses, these natural boundaries become more pronounced, gradually transforming the lake into a mosaic of separate pools. Kłlil'xᵂ also holds deep cultural significance for the Kłlil'xᵂ people. They consider it a sacred place and have long associated its mineral-rich waters with traditional healing practices. It is one of the most chemically unique mineral lakes in North America, where evaporation and crystallization continue to reshape the landscape with every season. Brilliant red, yellow, green. In some places, blue and black. Five colors flow through the channel of Caño Cristales in Colombia, yet the river itself remains perfectly clear. The striking red comes from Macarenia clavigera, an aquatic plant that clings to the rocky riverbed. Its color changes with sunlight and water conditions. The other shades come from the clear water, exposed rock, sand, and surrounding vegetation. Caño Cristales does not display this extraordinary appearance all year long. The water level has to be just right. If it is too high, sunlight cannot reach the plants below. If it is too low, they cannot thrive. As a result, the river's famous display of colors appears only during a specific part of the year. Beneath the water lies the ancient bedrock of the Serranía de la Macarena. Over time, the river has carved circular potholes, deep channels, and small waterfalls into the rock. As the crystal-clear water flows over these formations and the vivid red aquatic plants, each stretch of the river can display a completely different combination of colors. A massive mountain rises almost straight out of the rainforest. Its cliffs are nearly vertical, while its summit is remarkably flat, like a plateau suspended above the clouds. Mount Roraima sits at the meeting point of Venezuela, Guyana, and Brazil. The summit covers about 31 square kilometers and stands more than 2,800 meters above sea level. Towering cliffs, hundreds of meters high, leave the plateau almost completely isolated from the land below. Roraima is one of the famous Tipuis, the distinctive table mountains of the Guyana highlands. Heavy rain falls here for much of the year. Water flows across the rocky surface before plunging over the sheer cliffs in countless waterfalls. The sandstone forming Mount Roraima originated from ancient sediments billions of years ago. Wind, rain, and flowing water continue to erode the plateau, leaving behind deep cracks, rocky pools, and extraordinary stone formations across its summit. Black tree trunks stand motionless across a cracked white clay pan. There are no leaves, almost no signs of life remain. Yet Dedvley in Namibia has preserved this extraordinary landscape in the middle of the towering red sand dunes of the Namib Desert. This basin was once fed by seasonal floods from the Sarchab River. Camel thorn trees thrived here while the water continued to flow. Over time, shifting sand dunes gradually blocked the river. The water never returned, and the basin dried out. The remaining trees died centuries ago. The climate is so dry that the wood decays extremely slowly. Intense sunlight has darkened the trunks over time. As a result, hundreds of skeletal trees still stand on the white clay floor today. Surrounding the basin are sand dunes rising hundreds of meters high. The deep orange-red dunes, the brilliant white clay, and the black tree trunks combine to create three striking layers of color, unlike almost anywhere else on Earth. In the middle of the Sahara Desert, enormous concentric rings spread outward from a central point. The entire structure spans about 40 kilometers. Its scale is so immense that its full shape can only truly be appreciated from the air. The reshape structure in Mauritania is better known as the Eye of the Sahara. Inside the rings lies a barren and almost lifeless landscape. Broken rocks blanket the ground. Long ridges of exposed stone weave between broad stretches of sand. Its nearly perfect circular shape once led many people to believe it was an ancient meteor impact crater. However, geological studies have found no evidence to support that theory. Instead, the structure seen today is the result of millions of years of uplift and erosion. The ground here has never seemed truly stable. Hot water rises through cracks in the earth. Gas escapes in constant bubbles. Salt crystallizes around small vents. Taal in Ethiopia sits above an active hydrothermal system unlike almost anywhere else on Earth. Heat from below warms the groundwater. As it rises, the water dissolves a wide range of minerals. When it reaches the surface, those minerals react and crystallize. Shades of yellow, green, orange, and white begin spreading across the landscape. Some of the hot pools are extremely acidic. The salt concentration is also exceptionally high. Air temperatures in the Danxia Depression regularly reach extreme levels, and the entire area lies below sea level. Mineral-rich fluids can change course. New vents may appear, while older ones become inactive. Fresh layers of salt continue building across the surface. As the hydrothermal activity shifts, the colors and shapes of Taal continue to evolve. Kłlil'xᵂ has two completely different faces. By day, a brilliant turquoise lake fills its volcanic crater. After dark, blue flames can appear around its volcanic vents. Both are created by the volcanic activity beneath this part of Indonesia. The crater lake is about 1 kilometer across. Its water is extremely acidic. Volcanic gases continuously rise from below, with some dissolving into the lake and creating a harsh chemical environment. Around the gas vents, temperatures can reach several hundred degrees Celsius. Molten sulfur flows across the surface before cooling into vivid yellow deposits. Uyuni's famous blue glow is not blue lava. It is burning sulfur gas. As the hot sulfur gas comes into contact with oxygen, it ignites and produces bright blue flames. The phenomenon is most visible in complete darkness. Once daylight returns, the flames become almost impossible to see with the naked eye. The water shifts from deep red to orange and then pink. Lake Natron in northern Tanzania is one of the harshest lake environments on Earth. The water here is extremely alkaline. Surface temperatures can exceed 40 degrees Celsius during the hottest periods. As the water evaporates, salt and minerals continue to accumulate. Crystalline deposits gradually spread across large areas of the lakeshore. These conditions make survival difficult for most animals. Yet every year, millions of lesser flamingos return to nest and breed here. The shallow, highly saline water helps protect them from many predators. In a lake where most forms of life struggle to survive, Lake Natron has become one of the world's most important breeding grounds for lesser flamingos. Enormous white crystals extend in every direction. Some are more than 10 meters long and weigh dozens of tons. Naka Crystal Cave in Mexico contains the largest selenite crystals ever discovered on Earth. Inside the cave, temperatures typically range from about 45 to nearly 60 degrees Celsius. Humidity is almost completely saturated. Without specialized cooling equipment, people can remain inside for only a very short time. The crystals grew extremely slowly beneath groundwater rich in calcium sulfate. Stable temperatures over hundreds of thousands of years allowed layer after layer of minerals to accumulate on their surfaces, causing the crystals to reach their extraordinary size. Towering sandstone pillars rise straight out of a subtropical forest. More than 3,000 pillars of different sizes are scattered across Kłlil'xᵂ in China. Many stand over 200 meters tall, while some exceed 300 meters. The spaces between them form narrow gorges and deep valleys. This entire landscape was once part of a single, continuous mountain mass. Rainwater gradually seeped into tiny cracks in the rock. Over millions of years, erosion wore away the weaker layers, leaving behind the towering stone pillars seen today. Dense forest blankets the base of the mountains, while mist frequently surrounds their summits. At times, only the tops of the pillars remain visible, making them appear as though they are floating above the clouds. The unique terrain has also shaped the way people experience the area. The Bailong elevator carries visitors up a sheer cliff to a height of 326 meters. Cable cars cross the wide valleys overhead. Even so, many of the stone pillars remain isolated and can only be admired from a distance. The water stretches so far that in many places, the opposite shore disappears from view. Lake Baikal in Russia holds about 20% of the world's unfrozen surface fresh water. Its deepest point reaches 1,642 meters, deeper than the height of many mountains. Baikal is also the oldest freshwater lake on Earth, having existed for about 25 million years. Throughout that time, its basin has continued to widen due to tectonic activity. It remains one of the very few lakes in the world that is still actively forming today. In winter, the lake freezes over almost completely. The crystal clear ice can grow more than 1 meter thick. Long cracks stretching for kilometers appear as the ice expands and contracts with changing temperatures. Air trapped beneath the surface forms columns of frozen bubbles suspended within the ice. More than half of the species living in Lake Baikal are found nowhere else on Earth. Millions of years of isolation have turned this immense lake into one of the planet's most unique freshwater ecosystems, hidden deep within Siberia. Amid Antarctica's endless white ice, a stream of dark red liquid continuously flows from the face of a glacier. Bloodfalls looks as though blood is seeping through hundreds of meters of solid ice. The water does not come from the surface. It rises from a hypersaline lake that has been trapped beneath Taal Glacier for about 2 million years. Its extremely high salt content allows the water to remain liquid, even though temperatures stay well below freezing. The red color is not caused by algae or naturally red minerals. The water contains a high concentration of dissolved iron. When it reaches the air, the iron oxidizes and turns a deep reddish color, much like rust forming on metal. Today, Bloodfalls remains powerful evidence that liquid water and microbial life can survive in isolated, frozen environments for millions of years. A deep blue circle emerges from the turquoise waters of the Caribbean Sea. Its outer rim is almost perfectly round. Toward the center, the water darkens to a deep navy that is nearly black. The Great Blue Hole, off the coast of Belize, is about 300 meters across and more than 120 meters deep. Beneath the surface, nearly vertical limestone walls plunge into the darkness. As the depth increases, sunlight gradually fades. Massive stalactites still hang from the ceilings of the flooded chambers below. tens of thousands of years ago, when sea levels were much lower than they are today, this place was a limestone cave system standing above the ocean. After the last ice age, rising seas flooded the caves completely. The towering columns and stalactites preserved beneath the water are the clearest evidence of that ancient landscape. They could only have formed in dry air, long before the Great Blue Hole became one of the world's most famous underwater sinkholes. Nature doesn't need special effects to create the unbelievable. With nothing more than time, geology, and natural processes unfolding over millions of years, Earth has shaped wonders that go far beyond human imagination. And chances are, these are only a small glimpse of the extraordinary places our planet still has to offer. Which of these natural wonders amazed you the most? Let us know your favorite in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next adventure.